Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. Okay, Dill. Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. I'm here with Ken. He's been a client of the fellas for a long time. I'm gonna interview him today and talk about kind of like his life. And I'm gonna let him introduce himself to you guys, but I'm excited for you guys to hear about our relationship and how we've gotten connected and kind of who Ken is. So Ken, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name is Ken Hoagland. On Instagram, I'm known as Hoagland Overland. And I don't know, Instagram's kind of funny, social media is kind of funny.
Yeah.
The way that I really got into it is that I've always been an avid photographer, and I've just kind of built this following little by little over the years, photographing my truck when photos were big on Instagram. And then I started doing videos and drones, and I guess it just kind of resonated with people, and people started following my truck, and I started building it out, and it looks pretty built and outfitted for the outdoors, and I don't know, little by little, people just started following me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Does your wife get after you for like, oh my gosh, not another Toyota part? Or she knows that's your jam?
She used to. When we first started, she gave me a lot of crap. She didn't. I remember the first time I had really big boxes arrive at the house, and she's like, "What did you order? Like, what is this?" Like, honestly, I didn't really get into this, owning a truck to get, I didn't really have a vision of where my truck would go.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like my wife and I ever talked about. It just kind of like little by little, I bought stuff.
Yeah. And just kind of started adding to it.
Yep.
So when I was growing up, it was like, I grew up in Indianola, so like the middle of literally nowhere. But my parents used to go like jeeping and like truck, we would have like big snowfalls, so like we would climb through the snow. And it was like, where I grew up, it was like, you were either like a Chevy person or you were like a Ford person. And my dad was like, we're Ford people. We're Ford people. And so for a long time in my childhood, I'm like, I'm a Ford person. Yeah. And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't know why I was ever like so strict about like one or the other. And I know like people still, it's probably like a really sticky subject, but they ended up getting a Tacoma and a Bronco and started doing like the Moab thing too. Mm-hmm. And this morning I was showing my sister-in-law your Instagram, and and one of your stories says like taco something. And she was like, apparently he likes tacos. And I'm like, that's hilarious. I'm like, tacos is actually short for Tacoma. But it was just so funny because she was like, maybe you could talk to him about tacos. And I'm like, no, he definitely means a Tacoma. And that's so funny. I was like, oh gosh. But so when you were growing up, was it ever like vehicle-wise, were you ever like pretty into vehicles, and then were you like, I'm set on just this vehicle?
So it's kind of funny. So I grew up in Southern California, LA County.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to own a truck. I wanted like a lowered Civic with a bump-in radio, and I never thought I was going to own a truck. I didn't. My dad didn't have a truck growing up. None of my siblings had trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I did grow up was with a love of outdoors. My dad was my scoutmaster growing up.
Really?
He taught us, the accessions, what was needed to survive outdoors, relying on
even
what
in California.
Carry. Yeah, Southern California has a lot of great mountain ranges.
Yeah.
And you think of California not really having much nature, but there's a lot of nature.
Yeah.
And California, despite the craziness and the kind of craziness of politics, there is a lot of beauty. You got Yosemite, you got the redwoods in the Northern California.
Yeah.
California is an incredible state. Politically, I think it's a disaster.
Yeah.
But I grew up camping. My dad, every year for 3 or 4 years in a row, between the ages of like 8 to 12, my dad took the whole scout camp on like a week-long trip, 50 milers.
Yeah.
So I grew up fishing, cooking the fish that I ate, the trout fishing, and tent camping. What I do now is called overlanding, and that essentially, I kind of view overlanding in general as like the newer generation's version of RV camping.
Yeah. Okay.
RV camping is, you have a trailer, you have an RV, and you're going to campgrounds. overlanding, in my opinion, is really getting off grid. I personally love getting off grid, getting away from people. Occasionally, if needed, I'll stay in a campground if there's nothing available. We're so blessed here in Utah with so much open space.
Yeah.
We got BLM, and that stands for, Bureau of Land Management.
Best place to go bunny hunting.
It's not Black Lives Matter. In Utah, we just have so much open space, and if there's an established road and it's on public land, you're welcome to camp.
Yeah.
The big thing about off-roading is leaving no trace. So you don't want to just get off-road and just, create a new trail. But as long as you're, camping responsibly, you could really camp anywhere in Utah as long as it's public space.
Yeah.
No more campgrounds for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's perfect because you don't need one, and you can literally create your own campground. You'll just put some rocks and a little fire pit and all that fun stuff. Okay, so you marry your wife here in Utah, or you married your wife in California?
My wife and I met at UVU.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so you guys have 4 kids together.
Yep.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they camp with you. And are they pretty interested in like the truck? Are they pretty interested in like shooting content with you? Are they pretty into all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. My kids have kind of just grown up with the truck. They even named the truck.
What is it?
Steve.
Steve. Okay, I love that.
Oh man, my wife put him up to it because my wife's like, "Does your truck have a name?" Yeah. And I was like, "No, I've never named my truck." And she was like, "Careful the name you choose." I was like, "Why?" She was like, "Because if you choose a girl's name, that means you're, having an affair.
Cheating on me.
And if you put a boy's name, it means you're gay." So my kids named the vehicle.
Were you like, I wouldn't even be in charge of the name then at this point? Too much pressure.
So it's just me and Steve out in nature.
So do you rock climb with your truck?
So I've done some rock climbing. My big thing in general is that I need to be able to make it home because I take my kids. I've done the technical, picking the correct lines, and I enjoy the technicality of that kind of rock climbing. But really, that's not where my passion is. My passion is just finding the open road and just exploring, the different landscapes of Utah.
Yeah. So when you're connected with some groups. So you have a Toyota? Is it a Tacoma or is it a Tacoma? Toyota Tacoma.
2015 Tacoma.
Yeah, that you've decked out. It's just super decked out. It's got all the freaking bells and whistles. It's super rad. If you guys follow him on his Instagram, you'll see it. It's really cool. But so how have you connected with people like in your area? Especially because I feel like there's so many niche groups. It's like you either got to be a part of like a rock climbing club or like I don't even know if there's like people who really do a lot of just like free road riding, right? Like, is that pretty common?
Yeah, there's plenty of groups locally. One of the big groups is called UTOR, Utah Toyota Off-Road. And that's a great place to meet up and meet people. It's kind of funny, again, having this big social media following because I've never really been one to seek out and be like famous. It kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like if I go into a room and they're like, "Oh, I recognize you." Like the strangest thing was I started grad school in 2021, and I had a class in LA, and I sat down, and the guy behind me was like, "Hey, you're Ken Hoagland." I'm like, "Who?" Like, "Yeah, that's me." And he's like, "Dude, I've seen you on YouTube. I've watched all your Tacoma Beast videos with Mateo," and I was like mind blown, like completely out of like the situation. I was in LA in a class, and the guy recognized me, and it's like that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's fun, but at the same time, it's like, oh, so what do you think of that? Like, I guess if they're watching the content, they like it, but it's always like a strange kind of thing to be like recognized. Like one time I was sitting at a Real Salt Lake game, and this guy was like trying to get my attention.
Oh
and I was
my
like,
gosh.
Am I doing something wrong? And then I looked down at my phone, and he sent me a message, and he was like, "Dude, I'm here at the game. It's so cool.
I'm the one that's like freaking out."
And it's kind of weird to be recognized. My wife always gets a kick out of it.
She thinks it's funny.
She thinks it's funny. Yeah. But like I've never really been one to like seek out to like meet a bunch of locals. Like I have my niche friends, and we'll go off roading. But you know, when I go off-roading, I tend to not have like big groups. I don't really like going out with more than 3 vehicles, like myself and 2 others.
Yeah.
Just because it creates too much dust, it creates too much havoc. And,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, like I enjoy meeting people and I
Right.
enjoy like seeing other people's vehicles, but once you get like a big group and it just gets kind of chaotic,
Takes away the fun.
It takes away the fun. I mean, if you get a lot of traffic on the trail, it tends to be slow moving, or you're feeling like you have to go faster than you really want to, and it's just, I don't know, like I usually just go out with smaller groups, but I have gone to some of the local meetups. I haven't gone to a local meetup for a pretty long time.
It's been a minute.
It's kind of funny that there's so many people locally that may follow my truck, and it's like nobody really knows me. I don't know.
They just know your truck?
They didn't know my truck, and obviously they recognize me, but I really don't go to many truck meetups.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not something I seek out.
I think like for me, so I have my Hellcat, and I like don't know. I don't have like any friends with a fast car like at all. But I always want, like, I do think I want to make connections with people who do have fast cars, because like I have a feeling that when you go and meet these guys, like they probably tell you like, get this thing's awesome. Get this thing's awesome. And for me, I was like, I would love to like meet some friends that have also faster cars like mine that are like, Sadie, you need to do this to your car. This really increases this or whatever. So like I have had like this urge to try to find people either like car meetups, but then at the same time, like I work so much that I'm like, when am I going to like find time for that? So I don't know. But do you feel like when you are at these meetups, like everyone's kind of just more there to talk about like, here's what I've done to my vehicle, here's what you can do to increase this or increase that?
Yeah, that's the nice thing about social media in general, is that you can get a lot of opinions. I mean, you don't necessarily have to try out the products for yourself. You could find someone that's already tried it and get, kind of lean on them and get their experience.
Right.
That being said, small asterisks, I mean, a lot of these people with large followings, myself included, get free products. So to get a genuine, like, what's your experience on it, sometimes people don't tell you straight. I mean, I'm always straight with everyone that, even people that send me free stuff, I'm just like, look, like, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell people I don't like it. So,
so be prepared.
I'm not going to lead someone astray. I mean, most of the products that I have on my truck, I've specifically chosen so that it fits my current needs. But if someone comes to me and they're just like, I have a single family, or they have no family, it's just a single person, or they have no kids, it's just him and his wife, like, I'm not going to tell them to build the same truck that I have, because I've built my truck specifically for my needs and my family. But someone who's single that doesn't have kids or doesn't anticipate having kids, like, they're going to build a completely different vehicle. So I think really, having a bit of caution, asking for people for advice, but at the same time, like, social media is great that you could get a lot of exposure to different products that perhaps you wouldn't think of putting on your vehicle. So I think there's a lot of value in actual meetups and actually meeting people in person, especially if you're just getting started with a vehicle or a passion, and you could get experiences and kind of lean on people for advice.
So you're an influencer, and your Toyota is how you use your social media, but that's not your full-time job. You have a full-time job outside of that. What do you do?
I sell wood products.
So different.
Nothing to do with it, right?
How has Toyota not like picked you up for like social media?
I mean, Toyota is massive.
Yeah.
I've been reached out to from one of their main like advertisers, and they use some of my content occasionally. But it's really hard to get into like the big leagues within Toyota. Like, even
would you want to?
Would I want to? I mean, there's a fine balance there, and that's a bigger conversation. Is like, I'm always trying to balance my influencer aspect of what I do versus like the enjoyment of being off road, because for a while there I was really trying to push my YouTube channel and create YouTube channels, but videos, and I actually really enjoy the content creation aspect of it, but there comes a certain line where I'm just like, all right, am I doing this trip for me, or am I doing this trip to like create the content? And there really is a difference there, and there's a fine balance. Like, I could literally just leave everything at home and just get on the trail and then just get to camp and enjoy camp, or am I going to record the process? And sometimes I just decide not to create anything, and then I kind of look back and be like, that was pretty beautiful. I probably should have recorded it, but it's kind of like in my own mind, I do have a full-time job, and if I turn this hobby into a full-time job, then I might resent it. So
then it won't be fun anymore.
It's this kind of weird internal battle that I have with myself. It's like, how much do I really want to push this? I mean, obviously, extra revenue created from content would be nice, but could it replace my full-time job? I mean, realistically, probably not. So I'm just out there to get to have fun.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. No, I love that actually, because for me, like, I've been putting like this bag, like a duffel bag full of like Fellas merch, Fellas clothes, Fellas etc., and like hats and stuff. And it's kind of like ruined it a little bit for my kids, because I'm like, okay, we're going to go for a dirt bike ride, but I need you to wear Fellas gear, and I need you to do a wheelie, and you need to be right in the middle of the road, and make sure you hold that wheelie for a long time. And they're like, Mom, I just want to like wheelie because I just want a wheelie. Like, and I'm like, I know, but I really like need it for content. So I can like totally relate to that for the kids' sake, because I'm not doing a wheelie. But for the kids' sake, like I can totally relate to that as far as like my family goes. They're like, Mom, like we're here to like just camp and have fun, but I'm like, can't we have both? Because I need both. And my time's so limited, so I totally get it. So, I mean, just even hearing you say that is just like another confirmation for me that like I do need to spend some times not pulling out that duffel bag and being like, y'all, like, rip it up. And I don't care what you're wearing. Like, I'm not going to pull out my phone. I'm not going to get Hugo to come video it. Like, we're just going to have fun. So I think that I'm really glad that you said that, because I think that's good confirmation for me, because I do feel a lot of that pressure of, like, I need to get those lifestyle shots and get out there and, like, kind of show people, like, those kind of things. So, like, kind of separate, because, I mean, I feel like work and passion, like, kind of just gets intertwined, especially because, like, your passion is, like, your Toyota and, like, the fun of that. But then there's also that revenue stream, too. So it's like, you're like, oh, but then you don't want to ruin your love that what you have for it.
Yeah, that work-life balance and not intertwining, like, your hobby with your with creating the work. I mean, there was a while there, I mean, my really big end into all of this is that I was always passionate about photography, and I've gotten into videos over time, but that's just because of where social media has gone to, but it was always focused on photos. I mean, when I bought my truck in 2015, it wasn't because I had an idea to become a truck influencer or a truck content. Really, when I bought my truck in 2015, it was so that I could explore the backcountry of Utah and go further. I mean, previous to that, I had a Mazda Protege, and I was literally just dinking around American Fork Canyon, and I start to like go up a dirt road and be like, man, I'm gonna get some flat tires. So essentially I sold that and got my Tacoma, but I never anticipated camping with it. I really just did it so I could photograph the backcountry. I mean, I love photographing wildlife, moose, elk, anything I could do to just like photograph nature and to show nature. I mean, I have a separate Instagram channel called K Hoagie that's all photographs with quotes, and I don't update it. There's no real reason to follow it.
I'm gonna follow that.
But it's I use my truck to go out to the West Desert along the Pony Express and find the wild horses, and I have some really cool pictures of horse fights, and I've always enjoyed that photography aspect, and the truck just kind of like catapulted my nature and desire to be on the backcountry.
Yeah. No, I love that, because I think it all ties into you being like artistic, like between like, or creative or whatever you want to call it, but between like what you've done with your vehicle and then your content and then what you like to shoot and then like your lifestyle. I think all kind of just like flows into one, and it's kind of all the same.
Well, the crazy thing is not to cut you off, but
you're good.
The reason I mentioned the photography aspect is like I did photography all through college. I was the main photographer for the athletic department, photographing baseball games, basketball games, wrestling matches.
In California or here?
At UVU.
At UVU.
And I was the photo editor of the College Times, and every week I was photographing. I was taking maybe thousands of photos for different events. So when I graduated college, I actually started my own business photographing weddings and photographing dance recitals, and I tried to make a business out of my passion, and I found that I got extremely burnt out. I mean, I wasn't successful at it. It was 2008, and it was just like the bottom of the economy. the recession, and it was just like I wasn't successful, but in the process I lost my passion for photography. So
Yeah.
making my passion into a business, and then for it not to work, I actually didn't take pictures for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So when I started, like, when my kids were born in 2012, I started getting more into photography, and then 2015 when I bought my truck, it was really just just catapulting and just taking more and more pictures of nature, just really enjoying photography. So like even now to this day, like I say, when I'm hesitant to like make a business out of it, it's just like I don't want to lose that passion for photography.
Yeah. No, I love this like so much. I love everything that you're saying. Like, so me being a barber and then owning multiple businesses, like I can totally relate. Like, so Tuesdays is my hair cutting day. And I have an entire leadership team, right? Like I built too many barbershops and too much shit. But I didn't build barbershops because I wanted to own multiple businesses. I built one barbershop because I wanted a safe space for my customers that I could have like that closeness and that relationship with, and like nobody was timing me, nobody was telling me what I could and couldn't do. My true love is taking care of people. Like I love making people feel good about themselves. It literally makes me feel good about myself. It fulfills me. And so as I've opened up all these businesses, and as being the CEO of the company, everyone's like, we need you to be done cutting hair. Like, we need you.
You're
and I'm like,
wait, that's
but
what
if,
I really enjoyed.
yeah, I'm like, but if you take that from me, if you take those Tuesday days from me, then I won't have a passion for this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I won't know what direction I want to take this because I just will want to be done with it. And I've tried to stop cutting hair, but like that Tuesday is like what powers me for my whole week. Like it reminds me of why I've done what I've done, and it keeps that passion alive for me. So I totally agree with you. Like if I was to cut out barbering, like, because obviously I shouldn't be cutting hair. Like I own too many things. Like I have too much shit. I have too many kids, blah, blah. But if I don't cut hair on those Tuesdays, I don't want to run this company.
Well, I think it's what keeps you grounded. I mean, it reminds you of where you came from, where you started from. And if you're not cutting hair, I mean, you're just managing, and it's like,
yeah.
I think it's good at least have a day, maybe half a day.
Yeah, I do a full day. I'm like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about anything. I'm cutting clients' hair. They're my time. That's it.
And I think it also helps you focus on who your target customer is.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I've always liked about the fellas is, previous to the fellas, I used to always go to sport clips, throughout college. And then,
would they touch your beard?
So I didn't really have a long beard back then.
Oh, okay.
I used to just keep it really close and tight.
Yeah.
And then as I started growing my beard, and over the years, actually, I got away from the sport clips. One thing I liked about the sport clips is it's introduced me to like an experience.
Yeah.
I'm not really.
I agree.
My wife laughs at this, but like I'm not a sports guy.
Yeah.
Yet I went to sport clips.
Yeah.
And it's like I say I'm not a sports guy. I enjoy sporting events, but I'm not the guy to like follow stats or like really like want to watch a game. It was just like sport clips for me was about like you go in there and it's like this atmosphere, it's this culture about sports, and it's they give you a massage, and it's like it's kind of like something.
It's most structured from a barber. Like barbershops when they were starting out, and like as an old age, like you would sit down, you get the fastest haircut possible, probably a flat top, high and tight. That's it. You're in and out. Sports clips really did change the game as far as creating what was called an experience. So yeah, for sure.
Pun intended, right? Change the game.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, they did. And then you have places like Go, who's now offering like men's Botox, and they went even further, right? And they offer men's weight loss shots and all those things. So it's gone even further as it came up.
Yeah, see, and I've been so loyal to the fellas that I haven't even gone to them. But I mean, locally, I mean, when after my wife and I got married, we lived in Utah until 2009, and then we moved to Colorado. And in Colorado, I kept going to sport clips. And then when I moved back, the problem with sport clips is when I first started going there, I was really happy because I could go in there and I could count on the same barber. But then as I kept going, it was just like one barber to another. There was no consistency. I'm kind of finicky about my hair and my appearance. Like, I don't know.
Well,
maybe
especially
maybe it's a little vain of me. But
I don't think so.
I want a good haircut, and I'm willing to pay for a good haircut.
Yeah, and I think like when you find someone you like love and they like do a good job, you're like, I kind of want to stick with this because this makes me feel good, and makes me look good. So, in the fellas, do you feel like you've been able to like kind of stick with like the same people, or do you feel like you kind of always see kind of the same people here? Like, what's your feeling like with that?
Yeah, so for a long time I was growing my hair out and I was focused just on my beard, and I was going to Springville, and Gabe took, phenomenal care of me.
Yeah.
Gave me some of the best beard haircuts I've had.
For sure.
And then over time I started cutting my hair, and then Gabe moved, and Gabe's now in Payson. He's still killing it down there.
Yeah, he's already built a clientele all the way back up.
Which is, the only downside of Gabe, it was just really difficult to like get in at a specific time
Right.
and then get out, and just scheduling. So lately I've just been scheduling with Jordan here in Spanish Fork, and he's been doing a great job and giving me a haircut. I mean, when you first met me, I had my hair down to my shoulders.
I loved it.
So it was really
We just kept going shorter and shorter, though. You were like, I'm kind of getting sick of it. I'm kind of getting sick of it. I'm like, just a little bit off, just a little bit off. You're like, take it off.
Well, and one time I was in watching Jordan cut hair, and I was like, man, that guy gave a great fade. Mm-hmm. So I, give him a shot. I've been going to him, for the last 5 or 6 months or something. And, he does a great job.
And Jordan's consistent. Like, he works every single week. He stays on time. Like, he fits people in. He's a really good barber to have, in my opinion, as far as like staying on time, does a good job, and he's consistent.
The only funny thing about Jordan is he'll move the chair a ton. So it's like
he does move the chair a ton. You're like, I'm on a roller coaster over here.
And I've commented that to him. Like, most barbers will move around you, and he just he'll stand in one place and he'll be like moving the chair, and we'll like moving it back. I'm like, dude, is this normal?
Do you know what that's called? That's just called being lazy. Like, over time, like, barbers start to move less and they start to move their clients, because you're like, you just start to get, I move people more now than I ever have. I used to like not have them like lift up their neck or like make it easy for me. Now I'm like, move your neck.
Yeah.
I used to be like bending my neck, like, oh, like trying to get underneath there. But yeah, I think as we get older as barbers, like, you start to become more of like, you're moving for me and I'm not moving for you. You're moving for me. So and it could be like a guy thing too. Like, I feel like, because like I really use the mirror quite a bit, but Jordan doesn't really focus on the mirror, or a lot of the guys don't. I use the mirror to like make sure I'm square or if I'm rounded, so I can see on both sides. But the boys don't really do that. Like, they're just kind of like more free floating it. So it could be like a gender thing, or it literally could just be Jordan's being lazy thing.
I don't know if it's necessarily lazy. I think he just has his
way.
His way of managing the haircut. And it's like, he hasn't been cutting hair that long. I mean, he probably has, but in the
only 2 years.
He's young. I mean, he's like mid 20s. But yeah, he does a good job. So I've been really happy with him. But the one thing that I've really enjoyed about the fellas in general is it has a whole vibe to it. You walk in, it's very relaxed. Everybody's saying hi to each other. You're also very conservative. You have all the patches on the wall of all the law enforcement, which I think is really cool.
I do too.
And you're very, you guys are super supportive of all the different agencies, and you've collected money for people that have been killed in action, I believe, right? A couple times.
Yeah, so like that, well, and just barely that police officer who died, we raised like a little under $5,000. We were so close. I think it was like 4.9. So we raised that in 1 week. And then what's as cool is like, we never asked people for money. What we did was we asked police officers to come in and get their hair cut and beard trimmed for the funeral service. Mm-hmm. And whatever they would have paid us personally would take that money and donate it. So we're not asking always, like, we're never asking for like charities or handouts. Like, us as the fellas, like, we actually take our own personal money and donate it. So yeah, and then we've been able to pull off bigger events. This, obviously, when somebody dies, it happens so sudden, right? Like, you don't really have a chance to like plan how you're going to really execute it, but we just kind of threw something together, and $5,000 I felt really good about. But we had a firefighter, his daughter, she had brain cancer. It was horrible. He was so he was so young. Like, they were really young parents. They definitely didn't have the money to like be going to that hospital. Mm. Like, she wasn't even able to work because of it, etc. And we threw on like a last minute Halloween. We turned this entire barbershop. We worked the whole day. We closed down at 4. We had like sheets taped up to the wall, dropped them all at 4. opened up at 5 for a haunted house. So we had 1 hour to get the entire shop into this entire maze of a haunted house. And we raised 14 grand that night for that family.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And like bringing them that check was probably like, it's a moment I'll never forget. Like I remember her seeing it, like, I think she just thought maybe we raised like a couple grand. But I remember seeing her face when she seen like that it was $14,000. And that's a memory I'll for sure never forget. And it's a memory that continues to drive me to do what I do.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, like, you know, puts you aside. I mean, there's a cause behind it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a passion to invest into the community and
Yeah.
get involved. I mean, yeah, there's the business aspect. I mean, would that $14,000 have been nice in your wallet? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
For
at the
sure.
same time, like, to get involved and get your customers involved, to also care not just about the business, but a personal investment into the community is pretty unique.
I think so too. I love bringing people together, and that's what barbershops is all about, right? Like when you're in here, you probably see people you know, or like in your neighborhood, or your bishop, or honestly the mayor's in here every Tuesday, and it's like people are like making business deals, or like, hey, are you doing anything today? Like, do you want to go golfing? Like they just instant friends, you know? And like that's what a barbershop should be, is like a place where people can come and like connect and try to make a little difference and be there for each other. And like for me, I've always felt like that's what a barbershop is for me, is a community.
Yeah.
And so definitely tried to like really drive that home. But what I love too about like my relationship with you through, because like I don't always cut your hair. I've only cut your hair a few times and your beard a few times. So like I'm not your consistent barber or anything like that. I sometimes get lucky and get to do it. But my schedule is crazy too, just like with me only cutting on Tuesdays. But I love that you'll send me a message and say like, hey, your audio sounds like shit. And it's like, it's what it is that you care. You care. And you're like, Sadie, like, you could do this. Or like, you'll even send me videos of like funny stuff that like, I love that you care enough to like try to guide me, like, and help me. Like, I love that you know that I don't think that I know too much or enough that I'm not willing to take advice. Like, I genuinely want to learn and I genuinely want to be better. And you care enough about me and the fellas to try to make me better and us better. And that's so freaking cool, you know? And I really appreciate you for that too, a ton. So.
No, I'm glad you're open to stuff. I mean, if I ever overstep my bounds,
I'll just send you like a middle finger.
Leave me alone.
No, you won't. You won't overstep your bounds. I can always learn. I always have something to learn. One thing I for sure do want to ask you, though, is there's no way you fit you and your wife and your 4 kids in this Toyota. So, like, how is that happening? Are the kids camping or are you camping? Someone's in a tent.
So my wife doesn't enjoy the bumpy roads.
So she's out.
She just.
So it's just you and the kids.
It's just me and the kids, yeah.
Okay.
And really, when I first started getting into this, the agreement was we had 3 kids. We had 2 kids with 1 on the way. So when I bought the truck, actually in May of 2015, it's now 9 years old this month. I think its birthday was yesterday.
Steve,
Steve's
happy birthday.
Shout out to Steve.
Yeah, seriously.
But the agreement was that I could fit 3 car seats across. So I did all my research and I found on Amazon this car seat called Diono, Diono. I mean, they're like $300 each. They're not cheap.
Sheesh.
But they advertise 3 car seats across a Civic.
Yeah.
I was like, if that can fit in a Civic, the nice thing about it is, like, while they are expensive, like, they're super sturdy. I mean, I still have them in my garage. All my kids don't sit in car seats, but I need to give them to friends at some point.
Yeah.
But that was the deal. Is like
A little
fit
giveaway.
3 car seats across, and really, when I bought my truck, it was like giving my wife some relief. You know, it was
For
just like,
sure.
let me take the kids. You know?
She's like, take them.
She's like burnt out. I'm like, let me take the kids. And it was the funniest. My oldest, who's now 12, when he was maybe like 2 or 3, he was like, Dad, I don't want to go off-roading. The bumps hurt my legs. I was like, they don't hurt your legs. Like,
You're like, maybe your neck.
You know, one of the downfalls and one of the things that I've learned over the years is like, it's not, like, for me, it was all about the journey and all about seeing the different landscapes. And I would drive maybe 6 or 7 hours in a day just because I really enjoyed seeing the different landscapes.
Yeah.
And then I realized over the years that, yeah, my kids could do that, but they don't want to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
the quickest I could get to camp and they could be out of the vehicle, the happier they are.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've learned over the years. It's like, Ken, it's not all about you. You know,
Yeah.
like, if you're gonna bring your kids, like,
Yeah.
you know, let them be kids and let them run around. So
Yeah.
these days, my kids, I mean, one thing they love doing, I have one reel about my kids doing this, but they'll take like a big boulder and they'll take a little smash rock and they'll put little pebbles and they'll just like little smash rocks.
I love
at
that.
camp. And they're just like that's
They're
just
so happy.
That's just what they want to do. Like that's
Even the girls?
Oh yeah, my girls.
The girls just
especially.
crushing
They
little
just wanna-
pebbles.
Yeah, they just want to smash rocks. Like that's what they want to do at camp. And you know, I bring a frisbee. We'll play. You know, we'll eat good food.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about food. So like, my kids are so damn picky, but like when I grew up, like I basically, where I grew up, it was like camping. Like we Dutch ovened all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I was to pull out a Dutch oven and coals and stuff, my kids would be like, "What the? Like, where's the wrapper to this
dessert,
food?"
Mom, or what?
Yeah, they'd be like, my kids have such a different lifestyle than I have.
Yeah.
You know, and even taking them camping, they're like, I have 5 girls. They're all like, I'm dirty. I'm like, it's fine, you guys. Like, we got baby wipes. We're good. We're good.
We'll be just fine.
Yeah, but yeah, they did not grow up. Their life is so different from mine. But so, do you cook with your kids? Like, do you tell them like, "Hey guys, like you want chili?" Like, are you cooking in a Dutch oven? Like, are you teaching them how to cook in the outdoors and kind of like trying to make it more of like a teaching moment?
Yeah. So I feel like over time, every time I've gone out, I've learned something new about going out and what I needed. I mean, my build today is pretty well built. And I'm really happy with my setup, but it's taken me years to figure out what I need to be successful and happy camping.
Yeah.
So when I first started going off-roading, it was like, all right, I'm bringing a can of chili, you know, and it's like little by little, or I'd pre-cook food and just heat it on the meal, you know, on the trail, and it's just like.
Do the kids choose or do you choose?
Nah, I don't let the kids choose.
Good for you.
Maybe we'll just do PBJs, you know.
Good for you.
I know they'll like. You know, bring a box of chips and, you know, they can have individual bags. But over time, like, I've figured out what I enjoy cooking and I know that they'll eat. I don't even know if you know this, but I have a fridge on my truck.
I seen a freaking video of you making ribeye at freaking camp. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm about to go find Ken wherever he's camping, out there cooking ribeyes. Sheesh.
Yeah, and that's what I do now. I have my little Weber grill, portable grill. And I'll bring that Weber and I have my Dometic fridge that I just plug into the back of my vehicle. And
That's so smart.
And it's like, and one section is fridge and the other section is freezer. And I actually it could work either way. I could have both as freezer, both as fridge, or either or, whatever.
Yeah.
But usually if it's just like an overnight, I'll have one as a freezer and I'll bring popsicles or ice cream for the kids for dessert. And the other side I'll have all my essentials, you know, the beer, you know, the ribeye.
The essentials.
I mean,
yes.
That's essential, right?
I agree. I totally agree. I do more like tequila
water,
though, because I want to take the calories. So I'm like, no beer. Can they all fit in the back part where you guys would all sleep? All 5 of you guys?
Yeah. So I've tried.
Or do you make them
tents.
tent it?
I've tried different tents over the years, but my current tent setup can sleep all 4 of us.
It can?
All 5 of us, me and my 4 kids.
Yeah. I'd kill my kids.
It makes it a little tight with like, you know, bags and
wiggling
goodies and
yeah.
You know, but yeah, no, I got a good setup. I'm pretty happy with it. That being said, it's like currently sitting at my mechanics, you know, getting some work done.
Yeah.
You and I kind of commiserated over
I
broken
know.
gears. I broke my gears last November, and then they were fixed in December, and then I went off-roading and took it into my mechanic just to inspect after my last trip to Canyonlands. And they were like, oh man, the gears that we just fixed have too much movement. So they opened it up, and sure enough, they had to rebuild the gears. So right now they're just completely dialing that in. You know, shout out to the guys at State Automotive.
Where's that at?
Dustin, you know, Midvale.
Midvale.
I mean, you know, when you find people that are, you know, that you're comfortable working with, you tend to just go back to back. Same with what we're talking about with the barber. Like, if they do a good job, there's no reason not to switch.
Yeah.
And my mechanic shop specializes into Toyotas, specializes in off-road vehicles, and I've been taking my truck to them since 2017. So,
yeah.
You know, this is a bit of a bummer of a scenario where they had to rebuild the gears. It's all warranted, but they stood by their work. And they're going to, you know, I'm confident that they're going to, you know, leave my truck, you know, reliable.
Yeah. What are you driving right now?
I just have a little Chevy Trax.
Are you like, so I had to
My
like,
commuter.
I had to do a rental car and it was just so horrible. Like, I feel like I'd hit the gas to go over the intersection. I'm like, I'm going to get killed because in my car, I had the gas and I don't even see the intersection. Like, boom, gone. And then when you go into a different car, you're like, God, like this gas is like not even going. But yeah, like having my car down was probably like one of the worst things ever. Like, I'm like used to like waking up, going in my garage, starting, and it's like, like there's just super like loud noise, and I'm like, yes, waking up all my neighbors, pissing everyone off, and you know that I'm in like a lawsuit over my car too. Like I did a burnout in my parking lot, and I did a sweet donut, like just so sweet, and it took me so long to even learn how to do donuts because I would just get a little out of control. But yeah, like this car's not only cost me problems in fixing it, but problems as in my neighbors hate me and they want 100 grand plus my car. So yeah, this car's been an issue for me, but I love it. Like my heart. Yeah, I'm like, you can't take this car from me. Like you literally have to take it.
I don't think I do that.
You didn't know that?
That seems like a whole separate podcast where I ask you about questions about your Hellcat.
Yeah.
The trouble you've gotten yourself.
Yeah,
into.
believe it or not, like I've never gotten like I've been pulled over. Luckily, like I've been able to be. They're like, you got a pretty cool car. Like I get it, but just slow down. I'm like, okay, I'll be good. So it hasn't caused me any tickets, but it's definitely caused me a lawsuit. So that's a little interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about your muscle car. So I have my truck, and it's by nowhere. I mean, it's a fat pig that moves slowly.
Yeah.
It doesn't even go fast. I mean, I'm super sluggish. I mean, I don't go anywhere fast.
Well, it's got to be heavy with like all the stuff that you put in.
It's about 7,000 pounds. I mean, I think stock. I have probably 2,000 pounds of stuff on my truck between the bumpers and the gear, the racks, the tent. I mean, it's winch, fridge.
Yeah.
The bigger tires, the bigger wheels. It's like all this adds up to be a very sluggish. But you talk about other vehicles and how slow they are. It's quite funny. I mean, my Chevy Trax is not my fastest vehicle. My fastest vehicle is my minivan.
Stop it! Really? It will cruise.
No, the Honda Odyssey just like it like picks up and goes. Like
really?
You talk about your Hellcat. It makes me laugh because there's been multiple times I'll like go side by side next to a Camaro or a Corvette, and they'll just be I'm in a minivan, so they're not even thinking anything.
Yeah.
But there's been multiple times where I'll get side by side and I'll just like gun it. And I think the other person is just like, where is this guy coming from?
Did he just try to race me?
There was one time I was in Salt Lake and I had my friend and his Tacoma behind me and I was driving the minivan and we pulled up next to this Camaro and this guy takes off and I'm like going side by side, and the only time that he like really pulled away from me is after about 55 miles per hour, because that's the Honda Odyssey has a lot of pick up and go to get on the freeway, but it's not gonna like keep going.
Yeah.
It's not gonna keep launching. Like Camaro, of course, like it just like kept launching.
Yeah.
And I think I'm really surprised this guy. My friend told me later that he was just like in awe that like this minivan was going toe to toe with this Camaro. And he was like, then he told me later, he was like, then I realized it was you, and I started laughing.
That's hilarious. I had somebody tried racing me on their bullet bike just the other day, and I was like pretty convinced. I'm gonna kill it. But what I've learned about my Hellcat is like, I can't beat people off the line. Mm-hmm. I never can beat people off the line. Like it's just I don't have like enough traction right away to grip to go. Even if I put it in launch mode, it launches, but everyone else can launch faster than me, probably even your minivan. But if it's a roll and go, I always win. Yeah. But at a stop go, like my whole ass end is like this until it finally gets like grip and then it'll take off. But yeah, I cannot launch and go. So even when people are trying to race me at a stop sign, I'm like, let's roll for a minute and then let's go. I'm like, let's 3 seconds roll and then I'll hit it. But only because I don't want to win. Like I don't want to lose. So I'm like, let's not come to a stop. But yeah, my car will not launch fast. But my 15-year-old, she just got her learner's permit, and it's kind of sucky because I have a Hellcat. That's my only car I have. Mm-hmm. And then Jeremy, he has an $80,000 Escalade, which is super nice, right? And so we're teaching her how to drive between these two super expensive vehicles. And so she's driving my Hellcat, and I'm like, I'm like, don't hit the dumpster. Don't hit the dumpster. I'm like, don't hit the gravel. Don't hit the dumpster. Don't even take it in the dirt. I'm like, don't even go over a bump. I'm like, make sure you go super slow. But for her, like, for a 15-year-old to be learning in a Hellcat is extreme. Like, it's so crazy because then she goes to drive my sister-in-law's Honda Civic and she hits the gas and it's not fast enough to get her to cross the intersection. But hers, like, you just rest your foot on my gas and you're going. Like, that car is like, when you're hitting the brake, it's like revving for you. It's like, stop, like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And so for her as a 15-year-old, have any of your kids started driving vehicles yet?
No.
It's interesting.
I'll put them on my lap and let them steer. My dad does the same thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, wait until they get older and they want to drive your Toyota. You're like, I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
That's the plan. So
it is the
all
plan?
our vehicles have names. The minivan is Sarah.
Sarah.
And the Chevy Trax is Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
So
Tiny Steve Tim. And Sarah. I love that.
Tiny Tim's future will be the vehicle of the new drivers.
My kids just call my car the kitty.
The kitty.
The kitty. They're like, are we going in the kitty? Yeah, that's what they say. They're like, because it has a cat name. And I'm like, all right, it can be Kitty. We'll write in Kitty, whatever. But no, I love that you're introverted, but yet show your life. But I feel like you show your life in such a real way and like showing people like I don't think that you've like even created your Instagram really probably even on purpose. It's just been through like love and like what you wanted to do. I love that you like showcase like your kids and like who you truly are and like as a parent, like you're not doing it for social media, but you just love to take like those photos and like show those pieces of you. And I think that's super awesome. I also love that like you're the first person to like give people advice on social media as far as like helping them out. Like I know for me, like the second I reach out to you and I want to like promote something or you're like, yeah, of course, like I'd love to help. Like you're not like, okay, well, I want $1,000, Sadie, and you better cut my hair. Like, you know, it's just like you're really genuine, like just a genuine all-around person, and I love that so much about you too. Like, and I'm super happy to have you on this podcast, and like even just these stories have been super fun. Like hopefully it like encourages people who are listening, like maybe spend less time like worrying about promoting your brand or your social media or your this, and just like stop and smell the roses, like you were saying. Like enjoy those moments and don't ruin like what you love for work, you know.
Yeah. And that's what it's really all about. It's about that work-life balance. But for me, specifically, my truck is about kind of disconnecting. That being said, you know, I have a really flexible job. I sell wood products, but I don't go into an office. You know, I can do it remotely. So
yeah.
The latest thing that I added to my truck was I flat mounted Starlink.
What's that?
Starlink is a satellite from Elon Musk. So
sheesh.
Literally I could use internet everywhere.
That's perfect.
And
so now you can work in the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
That's like a good and a bad thing, right?
Well, it's good in that I have the you know, I do, all of us have responsibilities.
Yeah.
And getting off grid is nice, but then there's the stresses of missing things. Mm-hmm. You know, and at the end of the day I work sales. And if I'm missing sales, you know, that's not really being responsible. During the pandemic, you know, sales of wood products was extremely easy. But, you know, since the pandemic has ended and, you know, things are getting back to normal business, it's like, you know, it's hard for me to miss those things. So
yeah. Starlink
just gives me a little more comfort of, you know, not missing emails or, you know, or phone calls, but also allows me to keep exploring.
Does it keep the off the grid still though?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going off grid while still connected to the grid.
Yeah, okay. So, I love that. That's really great. That's awesome. Yeah, I need service. I guess I don't need service. I just feel like the want of having service, of like the security of like everything's being taken care of. But as I've like hired leadership and like more people, I feel like more safe to be able to like leave. Like they got this. They can do it. Yeah. I'm not saying that I do it or that I do well at it, and I'm not sure how long it'll take me to, but that it would be like eventually my goal. We bought my parents' property in Indianola, and we go out there and camp. It's not really camping, but I mean technically it is. Like we stay in a little log cabin. My mom's shower like drips out water. You're like, there's no shot of washing your hair or anything like that, but like you can at least like rinse a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, no, and when I go out there, that's my like off the grid experience. My dad's always like, we're gonna get what's that toilet? Like a composite toilet? What is it called?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And you have to like put moss in there. And my dad's like, this is a really great idea. Like, this is a really great idea. This is what we're going to do. So that's kind of like my off the grid moments when I'm sitting out there talking to like my redneck dad about how he can't wait to turn everything off. And like, everything's going to be just like, nobody's going to know about us. I'm like, we don't even do anything cool. Like, nobody's going to come searching for us. Like, nobody cares what we're doing.
Nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, but he's like, I don't want anyone to know. And I'm like, know what? Know that you go to work and then come home and go to sleep? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, no, being in the outdoors, there really is something super special about it, and especially sharing it with your kids. Like, my kids ride dirt bikes the whole time, and like, just seeing them, like, even having like my little girls do wheelies, like, obviously as a mom, it's super terrifying, but I'm so proud of them that like, that's what they want to do, and they're doing it, and they're living through their fears and working through them, and probably feel the same as your daughters. Like, you're like, please don't crush your finger, but have a blast, like, creating those pebbles, you know, but like, be yourself and like, get dirty and have fun, and like, be not what society says where you have to like wear a cute little bow and a dress and like little shoes that like everyone has to love you for. Like, no, go get dirty and have fun, you know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, well, I really appreciate you for being on this podcast. Like, I loved this like genuine conversation. This is like our first podcast where I feel like it's been more of like telling stories, and I love it. I think you're going to change Trim Podcast a little bit for us.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Okay, guys, you're not going to see me cleaning up Ken, but we are going to clean him up. He got cleaned up a couple of weeks ago, so we're going to trim him around his edges, so he will look really good, but he already looks really good now, too. Anyways, make sure to go follow him. He's super fun to watch. He has really cool ideas, and he's a super genuine guy, so if you see him out and about, like, make sure to say hi. And if you have any questions, like, he's always more than willing to help. So thanks again for watching Trim Podcast, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.